Hey guys, this is Pat from Rain Country, and let's have a show of hands of anybody who's got a piece of equipment on a farm or on their homestead or wherever, and you have parts that you just tolerate. Here I've got a outrigger stabilizer, and I have a handful of these spacers or washers here that I put on here, and then a snap ring that follows that goes into a little groove and holds the outrigger stabilizer and pad on to the leg here, or the stabilizer. Well, this pin here, I have this thing delicately spaced where I can just pull that out of there. This little groove in here is rounded off due to years of use. That it's kind of rounded off on the inside to where the snap ring will have a tendency to just pop off when this thing kind of gets under load or under pressure. And also there's some give in between this pad here and the leg. What I hope to do is because these pins are very expensive, and somebody's been in here and welded a big washer on here, which is fine, that's held up real well. But what I want to do is I want to tap on the inside of this pin here and put a coarse bolt on this and a big washer, and avoid using these little tiny snap rings. I think it'll be a little bit more robust, and I won't have to be buying any more of these snap rings and washers in the future, and have to stop every few minutes and try to put this back on. So thanks for hanging out with me. I'll take you in the shop and kind of show you what I have to have in mind here. Okay, here's the stuff that I have on hand. Now the plan is to have this tapped into the end of that shaft, and these washers will keep this pin from falling out of the outrigger or stabilizer, where the stabilizer hooks to the outrigger leg. And so I have a tap that matches the thread on this, but I don't have a die to bring these threads back further, clear to the head of the bolt. So I'm going to double washer this up for strength, and I am going to, of course, use this drill bit here in the part where I'm going to be threading with a tap, the 1/2-inch tap, and then I'm going to countersink in the 5/8 hole here to accommodate for the rest of the depth of the shank, the depth of the shank. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this down. I don't need that many threads on there, so I'm going to cut this down and make this bolt a little bit shorter. So I have to find center on this, and then the other thing too is I want to flatten this out to where it's a little bit more accommodating for a flat surface for this to bump up against. I've thought about tack welding or welding this bolt to both of these washers. We'll weld these washers together, weld this bolt to the washer, so this is one solid piece. But I'm gonna try this first to see how well it works. Now, I think it's useless to put like a split washer or something along those lines on here to keep this from backing off, because if I did, I would need to have this all solid here. I'd have to have all this solid in order for this lock washer to do its job to hold this bolt into place to keep it from backing off. So I'm thinking, if nothing else, I could use Loctite on here, or just tighten this up every so often. Check, just make it part of my daily checks, or when I go to grease the machine, just double check this to make sure it's on there snugly. Or I could put some Loctite on here and secure the threads that way. This is Thread Lock Red here, from Permatex, and that's for making, set so the bolt won't back off. And I'm thinking about using some of that in there. It's very seldom that you'd ever take this pin out of here unless you had a failure on your outrigger pad. And if that was the case, the guy can always cut this off with a torch or whatever like that and get this off of here. So, not too concerned about that. It'd be nice to be able to have this to where it backs in and out when you want it to, but in my case, I'm going to go ahead and try to avoid using the Permatex on there. We'll see how that works before I resort to that step. Well, the first thing I want to do is find center to this shaft here. So I'm going to find out how wide it is first with the diameter, and that's going to be 1.5 inches. So 1/2 inch is going to be 3/4. So I'll set my square up to 3/4. Well, let's see how right I am here if I just put the dot right there where I think center is. And then I'll go along and well, I'm right there. Okay, so I'll take a punch, a little ball peen hammer, and I'll mark put center here, mark center. That'll give my drill bit some guidance to not wander off. I'll give them a starting point for my drill bit. Now what I want to do before I get up, just start knocking some big holes into that thing, is I'm going to use a pilot bit, pilot start the drills and the holes, and just work up from there. That looks like a good starter bit. It don't have to be any specific size. Then I'll go over to the bigger drill press and start getting set up for drilling this hole. Well guys, I had a failure. I broke off my drill bit on the inside of here, and so incidentally I'm a little bit hung when it comes to my plan that I had for this. So I think what I have to do now is I'm going to weld a piece of round stock or square stock on here in such a way after I install it back on the stabilizer. So I got to get the backhoe as close as I can to the welder and go ahead and get that accomplished. If I ever have to remove that for any reason, we'll just go ahead and, you know, if I use a piece of something thin enough and husky enough to keep it from falling off of there, what I could do is just take a die grinder and just cut it off to take it off of the leg. So anyway, I'll get my backhoe set up, my welder set up, and go ahead and get that welded and into place. So, epic failure. Soon. So, problem solved. Thanks for watching.